Welcome to this, my 15th LinkedIn Live broadcast, where I'm sharing expertise around bidding and tendering. In today's broadcast, I'm going to discuss 12 reasons why contractors may choose not to bid. I'm going to look at this through a construction sector lens, but actually many of the points that I'm going to make could apply in lots of different sectors. So stay tuned, whether you work in the construction sector or not, because you'll find much that's relevant for you. I'm also going to be happy to take questions and comments if you want to put these into the chat, into the comments box, and I'll either deal with these during the broadcast or right at the end of the broadcast as well. Happy to also see comments getting put in by people that are watching it on a catch-up basis later on. So let's just put one thing out there to start with. Obviously, we're talking just now towards the end of August 2020. We've had a lockdown. Most of the sectors are out of that severe lockdown now. There was a period of time when there wasn't very many opportunities coming to the market. We're starting to see the number of opportunities pick up, and indeed we're expecting a glut of opportunities in September, October, November time, as particularly in the public sector, the procurement people have been able to shift their focus from the immediate situation with COVID-19, where they had to procure PPE, care arrangements, education arrangements, a lot of things under emergency type circumstances, and some of the procurement was actually put on hold. We're going to see a lot more procurement opportunities coming to the market. So it's really important that you're selective about which opportunities you bid. And in what I'm going to talk about today, there's also probably some points that procurement people will wish to take into account as well, because you want to attract a good number of bids, you want to attract quality bids. Are there things that you can do to maximise your chances of getting good quality bids from the sort of bidders that you want to attract? Sometimes there are things that can happen at procurement level or not happen, which can influence the decisions on whether individual contractors are going to choose to bid or not. Before I begin with the 12 reasons why contractors may not choose to bid, I'll start with one that is not in my list, but do you know what? It is one that I hear quite often from contractors. It is that perhaps this particular opportunity has already got a contractor or supplier's name written on it. Now, we know, of course, that that would not be illegal for a public sector organisation to behave in that manner, to have already pre-decided the results. But could they perhaps put criteria into the tender qualifications, or into the contract notice, or into the detail of the specification of what's required, that could make it feel as if perhaps there was a preferred contractor? So maybe it's a contract to build a school, and they put something in it like, you've got to have built 3 schools within the last 3 years. So immediately, if you've only built 2 schools in the last 3 years, even though you could have done that very successfully, you could potentially be precluded from that. Or it could be they talk about you must have in-house a design function, and maybe you don't have an in-house design function. Or they could be looking for a lot of CVs from a lot of different disciplines, and perhaps specifying that these are in-house when maybe you were going to be using sub-consultants for them. So once you start adding a lot of these things together, sometimes it can feel as if there is perhaps a preferred contractor there already. Now, if that's the case, it's important that you ask questions designed to see whether the buyer is going to countenance bids from organisations that can provide equivalence, or perhaps you're going to even question why these conditions have actually been put there. You might have delivered 2 schools really well. Another contractor might have delivered 3 or 4, but only just average. So really get underneath that. And actually yesterday I interviewed David Gray, also with AM Bid, on the subject of clarification questions. And you'll be able to find that video within my profile on LinkedIn, that LinkedIn live broadcast. Lots of information there around clarification questions, and better to ask clarification questions at an early stage, because that can help you with your bid, no bid decision. So I'm now going to move on to the 12 reasons why contractors may choose not to bid. So the first one is perhaps lack of soft market testing, no prior information notice being given. So if that happens, if there's a lack of soft market testing, then contractors are not being given necessarily an opportunity to have any say, any influence, perhaps say what the art of the possible is, perhaps provide information on what is available, provide information on what some of the potential risks might be, provide information, even around the specification perhaps as well. So the more market testing that can go on, there is then a better opportunity of bidders being interested, feeling that they've been involved, and when they see the documents come out, they might even see something that they said in the soft market testing has been taken notice of. And that type of engagement does often tend to encourage bids. It's very good if prior information notices, which is a feature within public sector tendering, can be used, where the opportunity gets flagged to the market. Sometimes it may say provide contact information if you're interested. It might provide an opportunity for an interview with the buying organisation. You might be asked to complete a document or submit a document. All of that is really good, because what it also does is that gets the bid onto your organisation's pipeline, which means that you're able to plan resources accordingly. It's good as well if, generally speaking, obviously pandemics apart, but if generally speaking, as a buying organisation, you can more or less conform to what you said. So if you said the opportunity is going to be coming out in October 2020, it's good if it does. If it's a specific date in October 2020, again, it's good if it can come out on or shortly after that date, because again, that's just starting to build the trust that is good for you as a buying organisation to have with your bidders. The second reason why some contractors may choose not to bid, I'm talking here through a construction sector design and build lens, but if you're in a different sector, you might just want to apply the equivalent to your own sector. But in this one, it's the lack of site information. You do need, as a design and build contractor, to have site information. You don't want to be in a position where you're having to submit a qualified or caveated bid. And in fact, in many cases in the public sector, qualified or caveated bids may be regarded as non-compliant and may be disqualified from the process. So if you saw that situation, you might have to withdraw if it wasn't possible to get clarity on the information that you sought. So if you're having to make pricing decisions, if you're having to think about commercial risks, but you don't have access to the relevant site information, then that could be a reason why you choose not to bid. You'd want to be very clear on the legal ownership of the site, the location of underground services, the access arrangements, really the necessary arrangements, the information that you would need to have to bid. So if you're a public sector client here, then you want to be thinking about, yes, you want to meet your deadlines that you've set yourself for when you're going to be putting something out to tender, but it's better to delay that a bit until you've got the sort of information that the bidders would need. Because you know what? If you don't have that information available in the bid process, then some of the bidders that you would have liked to have seen bids from will choose not to bid. Particularly as we go into a situation where we believe there's going to be a lot of opportunities coming to the market at the same time, then contractors are going to have to make, fairly sometimes quick decisions around what they bid or no bid, and the buyers who are coming to the table with a good quality tender pack of information stand a lot more chance of getting quality bids. The third reason that we're going to look at is poor quality design information. So it might be, for example, that the working drawings that you're providing for a design and build contract are actually difficult to read, or there's not enough information within them. So vital there as well that you go to tender when you have good quality information. When we turn to the actual bid, number four, the reason number four why some contractors choose not to bid is perhaps a lack of word limits or page limits within the technical response. So it's not clear whether there's a lack of word or page limits. It's not clear necessarily how much information the buyers are looking for. And bidders could sometimes run the risk of being told you didn't supply enough information, or you supplied so much information we couldn't see the wood from the trees type of thing. So again, it's better if the rules of the game are known, clearly understood by everybody, and there is a level playing field, which makes evaluation a lot clearer. Also, tender, particularly qualification stages that appear very onerous. They're perhaps asking for things that are over and above what would be expected. These sort of very onerous tender requirements. For example, we saw a bid recently where even if you had an ISO 9001 quality management system and an ISO 14001 environmental management system, and the ISO management system, the 45001, around the health and safety, workplace health and safety management, then even if a bidder had all of these things, they were still required to produce all kinds of information during the bid process about their management systems, their policies, their procedures, etc. Now, I would argue that that was probably unnecessary for the client to be asking all these things, because if you are accredited, and they asked if you were accredited by a UCAS accrediting body, then if that's the case, then why did they need all that separate time to be spent by bidders? So that's the type of thing that, if you can imagine that there's quite a number of bids that organisations could perhaps be going for at any one time, then when they're making selections of what they're going to go for, something that just makes it a bit easier or is not asking for unnecessary information would make it more likely that the contractor would submit a bid. The fifth reason why some contractors choose not to bid is the timescales. So the timescales for the bid could be the fact that they're too short. And if they are shorter than what would normally be expected, then that can cause problems at the bidder end, because they're going to have to turn around the bid quicker. It could also raise the question of, why are the timescales so short? Has maybe another bidder who's maybe perhaps got an established relationship with the buyer, not through any collusion, but they're perhaps just aware that this is coming up and they've been able to get on the front foot a bit more. So where there's a short time scale, it can sometimes raise more questions than answers, but also the short time scale is going to make the bidding resource difficult as well. Time of year is quite important as well. So often we still see in a traditional year, like a non-COVID year, you would expect that in July and August, some parts of the construction sector would be on holiday. And the staff who would be involved in preparing tenders would be on holiday. But what can quite often happen at the public sector procurement end is that the buyers are, maybe through committee cycles and other reasons, they are putting things out to tender just before they're about to go on holiday over the holiday periods. So as you get quite a lot of bids that you've got to be working on in July and August, and that's difficult, especially difficult in the construction sector. We know that the sector closes down, as do many other sectors, maybe for a 2-week period over Christmas. There's also some close downs over Easter as well. So if the bid is required to the business end of the bid, or a lot of work on the bid is taking place over these time periods, then that could be a reason why a contractor may choose not to bid. The sixth reason why some contractors choose not to bid is the lack of two-stage tendering. Now, two-stage tendering is, of course, a bit more work, or it can seem like a bit more work, but the two-stage tendering restricted procedure means that only the shortlisted contractors are going to have to go to the job of pricing everything up, and they're going to have then perhaps a realistic chance of success. They might be one of 5 or 6 bidders, maybe less, maybe slightly more. But if there's not a two-stage tender process, then you don't actually know how many bidders are involved. There could be quite a number of bidders involved. You're bidding blind, really there. And you also, usually in the construction sector and for many other sectors as well, you're having to maybe get prices from subcontractors, from your supply chain. And if there's a time when there's a lot of bids happening at the same time, they're maybe getting similar requests from other bidders, not just on this bid, but on lots of other bidding opportunities that are out there. So it's quite a pressure on them as well. And some of these subcontractors might say, well, you know, what stage are you at? And if this is an open procedure, then they might take a view on your likely chance of success. And they may say, I'm sorry, we just don't have time to bid it. Or worse still, they promise that they'll get you the prices, but you know what? There's only a day or two to go until the bid's due to be submitted, and you're still waiting on getting their prices. So this can be a problem really there. So generally speaking, in the design and build sector, in the construction sector, they will prefer two-stage tendering, and a lot of organisations will prefer that as well. Number 7, the reason why some contractors may choose not to bid is the quality price ratio. So the quality price ratio is something that you definitely want to be thinking about. I've spoken about it on some other broadcasts, likened it a bit to a supermarket, that if you're a bidder, it's good to know, if you were a supermarket, which one would you be on that whole price quality spectrum that there is between the high price, high quality, low price, lower quality, you know, mid price, mid quality, etc. So what are you? So if you are a bidder who's higher quality, higher price, and if the price quality ratio is 70, 60, 80%, whatever price, but you pride yourselves on quality, then this may be something that you choose not to go for. Now, this might be difficult for the buyers as well, because they might be saying that they want to buy quality, but in fact, they aren't reflecting that within the price quality ratio. So the price quality ratio can be a reason why some contractors choose not to bid something. Going back to the design and build sector again, but you could apply this in other sectors as well. Reason number 8 why some contractors choose not to bid is the design and build ability. So is this going to be an easy build, or is it going to be a very complex build? If it's a very complex build and they've got other bids to choose from that are easier to deliver, perhaps more profitable to deliver for them, then it's likely that they may choose not to bid in this instance. So is it buildable to the design? Make it easy to build, in terms of things like roof pitches, sewers, etc. Is all that going to be quite easy? Now, it could be you're not in the construction sector, you're in something else. You would be thinking about the operational delivery of this contract. Is it going to be an easy one or a hard one? If it's going to be a hard one, is it profitably hard, or is it one that's perhaps not so profitable? So you can start to see there are quite a lot of reasons why contractors may choose not to bid, especially in a climate where there is going to be quite a lot of build opportunities coming round about the same time. And that could well be true in whatever sector you're in, because as mentioned, we're expecting that in the early autumn period, there is going to be a glut of tender opportunities coming to the market, especially within the public sector. So number 9 of the 12 reasons that I'm giving you why contractors may choose not to bid is around the decision making. Now, public sector decision making can sometimes feel quite slow. It would be good during the bid process within your tender pack to actually give your decision-making timescales, and then as far as possible, try and stick to them. If a buyer starts to gain a reputation, a buying organisation gains a reputation that there's slow, protracted decision-making, maybe they said there'd be a decision within a month of submitting the bid or 2 months of submitting the bid, but then 3 months have gone by, you've heard nothing, you chase it, you get promised it might be another month or 2, nothing happens, you chase it again, you're told that there's waiting on a committee meeting, or there's a new strategy, or they're reprioritising, or worst case scenario, they actually cancel the whole bid process when you've gone to the trouble of preparing and submitting a bid. Also, there are considerations around the pricing as well. But if there's delays in decision making, will your subcontractors and your supply chain hold the prices that you've submitted? Because quite often within the bid, you're expected to, hold these prices maybe for, 180 days, your tender price, maybe less, maybe longer. So, and of course, we know what's coming. We know that there's the trade deal following Brexit, or no trade deal, or a trade deal that perhaps may not be so good for your particular sector. It could be currency fluctuations, making goods and even services more expensive to actually provide or deliver. So this protracted decision making, if the client organisation develops a reputation for that, or they're an organisation who doesn't give very much feedback even to unsuccessful bidders, it can be difficult to actually really get to the reasons why maybe a previous bid was not successful. Then, even with the unsuccessful bidders, the procurement need to keep in mind that today's unsuccessful bidder could be tomorrow's successful bidder. It could be the bidder that you really need to have coming into your next contract. So how you treat them, a bit like how you treat a job interview candidate who doesn't get a job with your organisation, you're still creating an impression of your organisation. So you want that to be good, because otherwise the bidders, again, in a busy market, could decide that they're not wanting to bid again to your organisation, especially as well if they feel that in some way, some part of the process just didn't seem very fair to them. So number 10, again, looking at this through a construction lens, but the same could apply in a lot of other sectors. The materials and the specifications. So some specifications are not fit for purpose. Sometimes materials are being asked for that don't exist, or that are not the best materials, that maybe the best life cycle costings, the best performance, could be energy efficiency or whatever. So if there are issues around the materials that have been specified or around the overall specification, then that could be a reason why bidders may choose not to bid, particularly if things are being over-specified, that it's got to be done a certain way or got to be done with particular materials. Unless you give a good rationale for that, then again, this may cause a bidder to feel that you're a client who perhaps could be a bit more difficult to deal with. And again, busy market, they might decide, you know what, there's a lot easier bids out there, there's lower hanging fruit. This might be the time that we're just going to walk away from this particular opportunity. Number 11 on my 12 reasons why contractors may choose not to bid is around risk. Now, some clients look to push all the risk onto the contractor, and that is certainly one way of doing things. However, it's not the best way. And in fact, it's better if there can be good risk sharing between clients and contractors, where there is a good apportionment of risk and some kind of fair risk sharing. You again, as a buyer, make it more likely that bidders would choose to bid for your particular opportunity. That just reminds me, I've mentioned about Brexit as well. So you'd also think about the change control provisions within your contracts as well, because it would be good to have change control provisions that if there were considerable currency fluctuations, then the successful bidder would be able to come back, and there would be a bit of a sharing of risk here and an opportunity where they can demonstrate it, and it's quite clearly referenced to labour or materials price indexes or whatever. You would want to then be able to have provision for a price uplift in that situation. Number 12, and the reason why some contractors choose not to bid, is around the bid resources. They just don't have enough resources within their organisation to bid the number of opportunities that are maybe coming out at the same time. Maybe they've got key staff on holiday or off sick. So this is a reason why quite often organisations will get involved with bid specialists, bring in some external bid resource to help them at that time to make sure that they're not no bidding an opportunity which under normal circumstances they would have wanted to bid. So I hope you've enjoyed this LinkedIn Live broadcast on 12 reasons why contractors may choose not to bid. And while I did look at it through a construction sector lens, I hope you found that a lot of the points that have been made could actually apply in other sectors as well. So on Monday at 12 noon on Monday, I'm going to be talking about why your Scottish bid needs to be wearing a kilt. And so this is maybe you're bidding into Scotland and maybe you're bidding from out with Scotland. What is different about bidding in Scotland, and why do you have to make sure that your bid is written in a way that's going to resonate with Scottish buyers? So I look forward to speaking about that on Monday. I hope you've enjoyed this broadcast, and I'll be able to see you on some further LinkedIn Live broadcasts where I'm sharing work-winning tender and bid tips and expertise.